a chainsaw. This story contains intense violence, heavy gore, torture, and disturbing content. If you are under the age of 18, if you have a sensitive mindset, and if you don't like blood, please do not watch this video. Julie's aunt, mother, father, and uncle all arrived at the scene in their car, and what they saw left them completely horrified. "Julie, run!" her mother screamed with desperation, but the killer let out a monstrous growl and charged toward them. He drove his fingers deep into both her mother's and aunt's faces at the same time. "What did you do?" her uncle shouted. "You freaking idiot!" Father yelled, but the killer didn't flinch. He turned to them with cold blood, ripped off her uncle's head in one savage motion, sending a violent spray of blood across the air. Then it was her father's turn, but the man stood firm, unshaken. "Julie, run," he said. "I will distract him." Julie shouted through her tears, filled with fury. "You wanted me, didn't you? Then why the hell did you kill them?" The killer didn't care. He moved toward her father and twisted his hand into a long root-like shape, wrapping it tightly around the man's neck. Even with the choking grip, her father managed to speak with every last ounce of strength. "Julie, go while he's distracted. Run!" Blood began to sip from his throat as the pressure grew stronger. Tears streamed from Julie's eyes. "Know that I always love you." The killer squeezed harder. Julie screamed, turned, and ran. "I hate you, psycho! I hate you!" She ran and ran until she couldn't anymore. Her lungs burned, and she could feel how far she'd gotten. Somewhere deep in the woods, she collapsed against a tree, trying to catch her breath. She began sobbing uncontrollably. Pulling out her phone with shaking hands, she called, "911, what's your emergency?" "It's me, Julie Yamamoto. My family was just killed by the killer. Death 10. Please." Suddenly, a strange white and black light flashed behind her, and before she could react, a hand snatched the phone away and crushed it instantly. Julie slowly turned her head in horror. Oh no, the killer was standing right behind her in his human form, his eyes wide and emotionless. How did you find me?" He raised his arm and showed her the death tricks. Julie didn't need a reply. She had her answer. But in a flash, he injected something into her neck. Within seconds, she collapsed, unconscious. Julie slowly regained consciousness. The room was dim, barely lit by a weak bulb that buzzed with each blink. The walls were cracked, the floor was stained, and the air smelled of something between metal and rot. She felt something wet hit her face. Instinctively, she tried to raise her hand to wipe it off, but her arms were tight behind her, locked to the wooden chair. She heard something, a heavy, repetitive thud echoed from nearby, and then more drops, something warm landing on her cheek. Her mind snapped back. She remembered the killer. He'd knocked her out. She turned her head to the right, and when she saw the thing, she got terrified. A scream tore from her throat. The killer was standing at a wooden table covered in a plastic apron, sawing through a man's body. Limbs were already severed, blood dripping, splattering, pulling. The thumping was the sound of the cleaver slamming into flesh and bone. He grabbed one of the arms, dripping blood, and was about to toss it into a garbage bin, but then he noticed her watching. Julie's terrified, pale face was trembling. His eyes widened, and then he smiled. Still silent, the killer tossed his blood-stained apron aside, clapped his hands like a child thrilled with a gift, and slowly stepped toward her. He leaned in, just inches from her face, his eyes locked onto hers. He reached to a small metal table beside her and picked up a crumpled paper. He unfolded it and held it in front of her eyes. On it was written, in childish, shaky handwriting, "Hi, my name is Ben Tennyson. What's your name?" Then he flipped the paper. On the back, written in messy, smaller letters, "I love killing you. No, I love killing everybody." He pulled out another paper. "You're probably scared." "No, definitely scared. By the way, I'm 23 years old. How old are you?" Julie didn't answer. He stared at her blankly, then suddenly slammed his hand on the metal table, making a loud bang that jolted her like a shot. Finally, with a trembling voice, she muttered, 21? The killer's face lit up with disturbing joy. He got happy, so happy, but then a sound made him pause. There, tied to a chair, was a girl. Her hair was messy, her hands and mouth tightly bound. She was whimpering. Her soft, muffled cries echoed through the house. Ben didn't say a word. Instead, he wrote something on a paper and held it up to Julie. "Wanna see something cool?" Julie froze. Ben turned toward the girl, grabbed her hand slowly, almost gently, and smiled. But the girl whimpered harder, tears falling from her eyes. A sickening snap as Ben bent her arm back way too far. Bone pierced through the skin, blood shot out violently. But Ben wasn't finished. He bent it more and more. The bone tore further through muscle. The girl's cries grew unbearable. Julie screamed, "Stop it! Please stop!" Ben was overjoyed, laughing like a lunatic, until the arm snapped completely off. Blood gushed. He walked to the table, grabbed the box cutter, and without hesitation, he started tearing her skin. Blood gushed again. Then he separated the skin of half of her face. He laughed again. The girl's cries turned into screams. Julie shut her eyes, trembling. Ben dropped the skin. He walked back to the table like a butcher looking for his favorite knife, and there it was. A chainsaw, its blade still crusted with old blood. The sound of death filled the house. Julie started yelling, "No! Don't do it!" But Ben didn't care. He ran to the girl and placed the spinning chainsaw right on her skull. Blood sprayed, her screams, Julie's cries, Ben's manic laughter. They all merged into a symphony of horror. Only Burr's skull remained. The girl was still alive, barely. "Enough! Stop, please! Please stop!" Ben placed the chainsaw down. This time, he grabbed the hammer. A cold, heavy, blood-stained hammer. He smiled and struck. Once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and boom! Her skull shattered into pieces. The girl was completely dead now. Ben dipped his hands into what was left of her head and slowly pulled out the brain, holding it like a prize. He laughed louder than ever. Julie screamed, "How? How did you find me? Tell me! Tell me!" He coughed, but not like someone sick. This was a signal for something, or someone. Out of the shadows, someone stepped forward. Julie's heart dropped. She recognized the face. Yes, it was Gwen. Gwen Tennyson, one of her closest friends. "Hi, Julie,"